All right, guys, last video of the week. So let's see. We have been working on filling out this unit circle all the way around, and we've got quadrant 1, 2, and 3 done. So today we got to do quadrant 4. Okay, so let's see. All right, the first angle measure we have to worry about is 300 degrees. Okay, so that means we're going to start at 0 degrees. Okay, and we're going to rotate all the way around past the 270 degrees. And remember, when we get all the way back to where we started at 0 degrees, that's the same as 360 degrees going all the way around. So let's see, we're gonna go 300, so that's here, here, and we're gonna be about right here, okay? So that is your big 300 degrees. Okay, so again, drop a vertical line straight up to the x-axis, okay, to form your right triangle. And then I need this reference angle inside there. So we say, okay, let's go to our reference angle sheet. And what do we do in quadrant 4? Well, that'd be 360 minus our theta. That would give us our reference angle, alpha. And theta here is 300 degrees. Okay, so our alpha, our reference angle, is 360 degrees minus our theta, which is our angle of rotation, 300 degrees. Okay, so our alpha, our reference angle, ends up being 60 degrees. So this guy right here is 60 degrees. Okay, so this guy has to be a reflection of that same triangle in quadrant 1. Okay, so if we took that 60 degree angle in quadrant 1 right there, this triangle that's formed in quadrant 1 has to be a reflection of that guy. So that means this point P and this point right here have to have very similar coordinates. So we go there, we say, okay, well, what's happening at 60 degrees right here in quadrant 1? The coordinates of the point are 1/2 and radical 3/2. So that means this guy right here is 1/2 and radical 3/2, which means this guy has to be a reflection of that guy, except rather than being in quadrant 1, we're down in quadrant 4. So down in quadrant 4, your x coordinates are positive and your y coordinates are negative. So the coordinates down here would be a positive 1/2, positive x coordinate, and a negative radical 3/2, a negative y coordinate. Okay, so that gives us the ability to get our next part, okay, of our unit circle. So let's see, we'd be right here at 300 degrees, and that would be a positive 1/2 and a negative radical 3/2, like that. Okay, so we got that guy done. So let's see, our next special angle would be 315 degrees. Okay, so again, starting at 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and then all the way around a full 360 degrees. 315, we'd have to go right here. Okay, that guy would be about right here. Okay, so we've got this theta that's 315 degrees. Okay, so I drop my vertical line up to the x-axis to form my triangle, and now I got to figure out what my reference angle is here. Okay, so once again, we go to our sheet with our rules, and we're in quadrant 4, so alpha, my reference angle, would be 360 minus theta, our angle of rotation. Okay, so our angle of rotation here is 315, so our alpha, our reference angle, is 360 pesos minus 315 pesos. Okay, so our alpha here, that would be 45 degrees. So that means our reference angle is 45 degrees. Okay, so this right triangle has to be a reflection of the 45 degree right triangle in quadrant 1. Okay, so if I drop straight down, okay, and so I've got this point P up from quadrant 1 that has to be reflected down to this point. So we say, okay, well, what's happening at 45 degrees? Well, at 45 degrees, you have coordinates radical 2 over 2 and radical 2 over 2, which we would expect because we got a 45-45 right triangle, which is isosceles right triangle, and we know our legs are the same length, so we would expect those coordinates to be the same. Okay, so this guy is radical 2 over 2 and radical 2 over 2. Okay, so this point right here is a reflection of that point. Okay, it's just we're in quadrant 4, so that means our x-coordinate is positive, our y-coordinate is negative. So we reflect that down and we get a positive x-coordinate, radical 2 over 2, and we get a negative y-coordinate, negative radical 2 over 2. Okay, so we've got another piece of our unit circle. Okay, so this is our 315 pesos, and the coordinates on the unit circle are radical 2 over 2 and negative radical 2 over 2. Okay. All right, so we're down to our last guy, 330 degrees. Okay, so once again, we've got our 0 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and all the way around to 360 degrees. Okay, and we're going 330. So that guy's gonna be about right here. Okay, so we've got this guy going all the way around 330 degrees. Okay, so I drop my vertical line to form a right triangle, and now I need my reference angle. Once again, we're in quadrant 4, so we're going to go 360 minus theta, okay, our angle of rotation to get our reference angle, our alpha. Okay, so let's see, alpha would be 360 pesos minus the 330 pesos. So our alpha, our reference angle, is 30 degrees. Okay, so that means this guy has to be 30 degrees in here. So this triangle has to be a reflection of the 30-degree triangle formed in quadrant 1. Okay, and we have that point P, which we know is in quadrant 1, that has to be reflected down to this guy. So we go to our 30-degree angle in quadrant 1, and it has coordinates radical 3 over 2 and 1/2. Okay, so we know that this point right here is radical 3 over 2 and positive 1/2. Okay, so that has to be reflected down to here, so it's this guy, it's just down in quadrant 4, okay, where we would have a positive x-coordinate and a negative y-coordinate. So that would give us a positive x-coordinate, radical 3 over 2, and a negative y-coordinate, a negative 1/2. Okay, and we have our last special angle on our unit circle at 330 degrees. Okay, well, let's see. Oh, I put this guy in the wrong place. Okay. Let's see. That guy goes right here. Radical 2 over 2 and negative radical 2 over 2. Okay, so right here I'm going to get a positive radical 3 over 2 and a negative 1/2. And we've got a unit circle, okay, which is awesome. Okay, unit circle's fantastic. And I'm going to give you a really cool copy of the unit circle. Okay, I'm going to post this today. This is an official unit circle. Okay, it has everything you would possibly need to know. It's just remember, some of these things you won't learn about until you come back for pre-calc. So this pi over 6, this pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2, and so on all the way around. Those are a different way to measure angles and radians. All we're worried about is the degrees. Okay, that's all you got to worry about. And then obviously the coordinates going all the way around. Okay, but remember, okay, everything on this unit circle is cosine theta, sine theta. Everything is. Okay, so you can use that to do some really simple calculations here. And you say, okay, what's the sine of 60? Okay, Well, that has to be the y coordinate at 60 degrees. And so we go to 60 degrees, and that's radical 3 over 2. Okay? So the sine of 60 is radical 3 over 2. Okay, and we go the sine of 135. Okay, well, let's see. 135 is right here. The sine is the y coordinate, so the sine of 135 is radical 2 over 2. Okay, so that is radical 2 over 2. Okay, how about the cosine of 240? Okay, well, let's see. 240 is right here. Cosine is your x coordinate, so the cosine of 240 would be a negative 1/2. Okay, so the cosine of 240 is negative 1/2. Okay, cosine of 120. Okay, let's see, here's 120 right here. Okay, cosine is the x coordinate, so the x coordinate of 120 is negative 1/2. Okay, so the cosine of 120 is also negative 1/2. Okay, sine of 270. Okay, so let's see, we're down here. Okay, the sine is the y coordinate. Okay, so the sine of 270 is negative 1. Okay, and look at how useful this tool is. We have the sine of 180. Okay, let's see, 180 is right here. Sine is the y coordinate. So the sine of 180 is 0. Okay, and look at, once again, how useful this tool is. We got 3 more quick ones to do. Cosine of 330. So let's see, we're going 330 right here. Cosine is the x coordinate. So the cosine of 330 is radical 3 over 2. Okay. And radical 3 over 2. Cosine of 315. Okay. Let's see, 315 is right here. Cosine is your x coordinate. So the cosine of 315 would be radical 2 over 2. Okay. So that is radical 2 over 2. And then lastly, the sine of 300. So let's see, 300 is right here. Okay. Sine is the y coordinate. Okay, so the sine of 300 would be negative radical 3 over 2. And you can see how nice it is to have that unit circle and be familiar with it. And these are the really important angles on this unit circle that show up over and over and over again in mathematics. And that's why this unit circle is so important. Okay, guys, that is the last video for the week. It's actually the last video for the year. Okay, you guys stay safe out there. I miss all of you. You guys have a wonderful summer, and I look forward to seeing you whenever school starts back up next year. Take care.